Thomas Castellanos is going to be the key if Boston College is going to upset Florida State.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel now through September 22nd. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. Thank you to all of you who are everydayers here at Locked On BC. Thank you for making Locked On BC your first listen every day. Now let's get into more talk about this upcoming game against Florida State and why Tommy Castellanos is going to be one of the keys to that victory if that's going to happen. We're also going to give you 3 surprises from camp, and I'm going to tell you about the captains named and my thoughts on the new Superfan shirts coming back. I think we'll have some really interesting conversations here on Locked On BC. So let's check it out. Let's get it started. Boston College gets their much anticipated 2024 season underway on Monday. We're in game week now in Tallahassee against the 0-1 Florida State Seminoles. I love saying 0-1 because if you talk to a Florida State fan, they were undefeated last year. Not sure if you knew that, but that game against Georgia apparently didn't count. Well, they almost lost to BC last year. BC had 18 penalties in that face masking penalty at the very, very, very end of the game that cost them what would have been a monumental upset, the same kind that Georgia Tech had. What was the big key in that game? Yes, the fumble return from Kari Johnson at the very end and in the fourth quarter, that was big. But the play of Thomas Castellanos was incredibly important. And that was against a Florida State defense that had very good linebackers. They had Jared Verse. They had a very good defense. And what we saw against Georgia Tech on Saturday was a defense that did not have the same edge as it did last year. This game should, on paper, be an opportunity for Thomas Castellanos to burst onto the national scene. If the offensive line can play serviceable and be able to have an edge to them, Castellanos is going to be able to find room to run and make plays both with his arm and with his legs. But the big factor here is, will he prevent mistakes? And that's something we don't know yet. We saw him throw 14 interceptions last year. He made fumbles. He had penalties. He had things that happened to him that cost Boston College. I don't care that Florida State is 0-1. You can't go into this game presuming you're going to win. If you are, you're insane. BC is a 17-point underdog for a reason here. But I don't believe that BC is going to get their doors blown off here. And I honestly believe that there's a chance that they could upset Florida State. But in order for that to happen, we cannot see Tommy Castellanos have those what the heck moments where he throws the ball and gives up turnovers. We can't see him make bad reads. We can't see him make mistakes. He doesn't have to play flawlessly, but the catastrophic issues that sometimes poked their ugly heads up last year cannot happen. I have faith that Will Lawing, Bill O'Brien, and Coach Dibbs have done a masterful job of helping Castellanos take that next step. I think you're going to see a more refined quarterback, one that knows how to make his progressions, knows how to do a lot of things good quarterbacks do at the line to help maximize his efficiency. I think that Tommy Castellanos mentally is a very strong quarterback. I think he has the physical tools to make him an exceptionally strong quarterback. Is he going to be the best throwing quarterback you've ever seen? No. But he can be a Kyler Murray Murray-esque quarterback. Kyler Murray is around the same size as Castellanos, and you don't need to tell me that you wouldn't want to have Kyler Murray being your quarterback here. Move the pocket, have him run around a little bit and bootleg. All those things can help. Read options, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. If Castellanos can keep the offense on the field and keep DJU from figuring out whatever the heck happened last week, preventing him from having the time and the reps to figure it out this week, that is a key to victory. I think in terms of game planning, what I would go for game planning here is, yeah, I'd love to see them throw the ball around. But if you don't need to, don't. Like, it's nice to get Jerron Bradley the ball or Jaden Skeet the ball. But if you can keep their defense on their heels because you're running the ball down their throat, that is a much easier way to win. You're draining the clock. You're controlling the tempo of the game. You're controlling the time of possession. You're preventing them from having excessive possessions. That's all going to be with Castellanos. Can he just continue to get those first downs and keep the clock rolling? Remember, it was Georgia Tech. I think it was, what did Florida State have? One possession in like the third or fourth quarter? That was it. Because Georgia Tech just had these long drives. And there's no reason to say that Boston College can't do the same thing. They can. Castellanos can do it too. And honestly, if that's one way to win, that's fine. If it means that Thomas Castellanos is breaking off explosive after explosive, that's fine too. But I'm saying you might need to have those long sustained drives to win these games. You might need to have, a 12-play, 75-yard drive to score, and you need to score. You can't kick field goals. Field goals don't win games. Touchdowns do. Well, field goals don't win games unless you're Georgia Tech against Florida State. Well, okay, let's not talk about field goals. Florida State, you need to score touchdowns. You need to score touchdowns. And I think Thomas Castellanos, this could be his big game. It's going to be a tough one. You're on the road. You're playing in a hostile territory against a very ticked off fan base that is livid at what happened last week, and probably a very ticked off FSU team that is also going to be looking for blood. But sometimes there's players that rise to the occasion. And I'm not saying he's absolutely going to do it, but the one big key about Thomas Castellanos is that it factor. He's a winner. He does things to help your team win. So if there's one guy that I would trust to go into a battle like this, it's him. I think he's the guy to do it. Now we're going to, we're previewing this. This is, it's going to be put up or shut up when he has to do it. But I think this is a guy that has a good head on his shoulders that can win that game. Now, in a moment, I'm going to tell you about, we finished up camp. I want to give you 3 surprises I saw at camp. 3 names I just did not expect to have the camp that they did. I'll tell you all about them in just a moment. Are you tired after lunch? You're not alone. I am exhausted after lunch. In fact, research shows that more than 70% of us hit the wall after lunch. Let a 5-hour energy shot help you leap over that wall instead of crashing into it. With 0 sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. On the site, you even have the option to build your own 12 or 24 pack. You choose the flavors and it's delivered right to your door, whether it's watermelon, tropical burst, grapeberry, and the more the flavors for everyone, you're going to want to try them all. If you go to 5-Hour Energy, that is the number 5hourenergy.com and get 5-Hour Energy product today. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. Hey, Locked On Boston College fans, I want to take a moment to give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love as much as I do. Ultimate College Football HC. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to take a step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of Boston College? From recruiting players and hiring coaching staffs to overseeing training camps and handling school scholarships, you control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. Will you be able to handle the pressure? And here's what I really love about this game. You are responsible for calling offensive plays during the game. Your strategy will not only determine the success of your football program, but will shape the future and legacy of the football team. Ultimate College Football HE is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go and as you want and whenever you want. And of course, you have a special offer for Locked On Boston College fans. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure to take advantage of this perk as it will get your team off to a strong start. To download the game, just visit ultimate-cfb.com or look it up on the App Store. Ultimate College Football HC. Begin your college legacy today. This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black. Training camp is over. We are now in game week. And I had one last final thought. We've got a couple days to still kind of digest. The depth chart's not coming out until today, if you're listening on Tuesday. I was thinking, what three players have really surprised me this camp? And if you've listened to previous episodes, some of this may be a little repetitive, but you know what? It's Boston College football. It's talking Boston College football. You guys are here for that, so let's talk about it again. My big three players. I think the biggest surprise for me was wide receiver Reed Harris. I had heard buzz about him. Jeff Hafley last year talked about him. And I saw him at camp last year, but you couldn't actually watch him practice. He looked like a tight end last year. He was big. He was 6'5". He's a former quarterback from Montana, of all places. And when I saw that, I was like, are they going to convert him to a tight end? What are they going to do with him? Is he just going to end up, fizzling out and going someplace else? But Hafley was, very consistent that he thought this guy was going to become something. Spring, didn't really see much. I saw a little bit of him there. But man, this summer, whatever development he made was quite the development. He looks like a wide receiver now. He's got the same almost build as Jerron Bradley. Like he's 6'5", 200 pounds. He's, good size to him, but he's not huge. He's quick. And I love watching him just in the passing game. Like he is a weapon. And he's going to play. And that's the part that surprised me most. If you were to tell me at the beginning of camp that I would be talking about Reed Harris as a starting wide receiver or potential guy that's going to play 20, 30 snaps a game, I would say you're crazy. But this is where we're at right now. And it's because he took advantage of a great camp to really get himself out there. Now, BC has 3 to 4 wide receivers, I think, that are probably a little before him. Jerron Bradley, Jaden Skeet, and Lewis Bond. And then I would probably put Shake McGowan. But he's a different type of wide receiver. But I think he'll probably get more snaps just because he's more of a slot guy. But maybe someone gets dinged up. He's going to be the first guy off the bench for any of those guys. He's going to, if one guy gets shaken up, Reed Harris is going to be the guy out there. You're going to see a lot of him this year. And he surprised me because Montana wide receiver. Does that scream ACC level player to you? No, but here we are. He's earned it. He's looked great. Another player that I was surprised with, and it was based more on his weaker spring camp, was Ced McConnell. When you bring a transfer in, your expectation, especially when you bring a transfer in at Boston College, is that they're going to compete for a starting spot. Most kids are not going to come to BC to sit on the bench. They're just not. Like a kid from Illinois is not going to come to BC to sit on the bench. But I watched him this spring, and I have to say he did not impress me at all. Like he was constantly getting ripped by the coaches. He just didn't look like he belonged. He just kind of seemed like this amorphous defensive lineman that just wasn't finding his spot. Again, just like Reed Harris, 6 months later or 5 months later, he looks like a completely different player. He, again, has figured out what they want on defense. and is playing at a very high level. I thought, man, like I was like at the end of spring camp going, is he going to transfer again? Because like he just didn't seem like he was going to fit into this defense. And there's said McConnell this summer making play after play after play. And just like Reed Harris, he's going to be one of the first guys off of the bench. He again, like if George Rooks has to take a breather, if they need someone in for Cam Horsley, said McConnell is going to be one of the first guys that's going to come in. He's going to play this year. My predictions for defensive tackles is going to be Rooks, it's going to be Horsley, and then some combination of McConnell. I think McConnell will probably be next, and then Quan Williams and Owen Stodmeyer after that. And because all five of those guys have made plays this summer. And then my final surprise of the camp. You might have thought I was going to say Max Tucker. And Max Tucker would be a good one. I'm not going to put Max Tucker here only because I've talked about Max Tucker excessively on this podcast. I love him. I just feel like I need to talk about someone a little different. And that person that completely surprised me is Carter Davis. He is I think he's a sophomore defensive back from Mount St. Joseph, Maryland. And if you're watching, if you're in my shoes and you're watching practice, you saw number 28 go all over the defensive backfield. He played cornerback. He played safety. He played like he was everywhere. He's going to be the Swiss Army knife of this secondary because if Jalen Cheek, like if anyone gets banged up, Carter Davis could be out there. I expect that he may be more of a safety for BC because I think you're going to see if like a cornerback goes down, Braquise Brown or Ryan Turner, the two transfers are going to kind of jump in and do that kind of work. But there's no reason to say Carter Davis couldn't do that either. Bill O'Brien really likes him. I think he's got a high upside and he's shown quite a bit. He's a guy that I thought eventually would become a defensive back that BC would rely on. I just didn't think it was going to be this early, and he looks good. I think he's going to be someone you're going to watch for. Now, in our final segment, I have two things I want to tell you about. I want to tell you about the new Superfan shirts and my thoughts on that, and then we'll talk about the captains who got named, and I'll give you some details on that in just a moment. It's summertime, which means it's barbecue season. Stock up on all your grilling favorites and earn cash back on every purchase when you use Ibata, so you won't have to choose between burgers and hot dogs. You can get both. Other apps give you points that you don't amount to much. With Ibata, you earn cash back that you can withdraw to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Simple ad offers in the app. Upload your receipt, and voila, the money is yours. You can save up on over 2,400 brands and shop at over 1,000 retailers, including your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora's, Best Buy, and more. Right now, Ibata is offering our listeners $5 for just trying Ibata by using the code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibata app to earn cash back and use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONCollege. This is Locked On BC AJ Black. Thank you to all my Eagles nesters out there. All of you who have been sending me messages. I love talking and interacting with you. If you want to become part of the Eagles Nest program, details are in the show notes. You can still sign up for free. Don't miss your opportunity. It's running out. I think I have like one more left. Hopefully you take advantage of that. If not, it's like buying AJ a cup of coffee and you get to chat with me all the time. Isn't that a great deal? Check it out in the show notes. So on Monday night, the first game week news item came up, other than the spread of the game, which is 17. You can get that on FanDuel as long as you're not in the state of Massachusetts. But I was going to say that the naming of the captains was the big news. And honestly, it surprised me a little bit. I'll tell you why. At camp last week, we asked, I think it was last week, Bill O'Brien if he's going to name captains. He had said that he was going to do it by each week, and then have one at the end of the year for like their final captains. But it looks like right now, according to the graphic release, the BC picked 6 players to be their captains this year. And most of them are not a surprise. Tommy Castellanos is going to be a captain. Cam Arnold, linebacker. Donovan Nazaraku, defensive end. Offensive lineman, Ozzie Trapilo and Drew Kendall. And then linebacker Joseph Marinaro, who has a name that reminds me of pasta sauce, but I love his name. And if you were to ask me, like, any of these surprises, obviously Marinaro is, but I want to say something. I want to shout out this kid. I think this is such a cool move by Bill O'Brien because Joseph Marinaro has impressed ever since he's been on. And even though he plays a smaller role, he's a special teams guy. He played in, I think, 11 special teams games in the last 2 years. Look at what he's done since he's been here. He walks on to BC. His second year, he's given a scholarship based off of what he's done. So he's been scholarship since then. He's found a role on special teams and now is a captain. What a cool story is that? So while it's great that you have guys like Tommy Castellanos and Ozzie and Drew and Donovan and Cam, those are all your guys that have been leaders for years, the guys that everyone knows about. They're kind of the stars of your team. When a guy like Joseph Marinaro wins it, that's the stuff that I find interesting because clearly and honestly, I don't know how they were picked, whether it was the staff. I think it was the staff that picked it, but sometimes the players pick it too. He must have a ton of respect. And for a guy that was a former walk-on, very cool story. Finally, my last point of the day. I want to shout out to Brett Ryder over at Eagles Daily, who talked about the new Superfan shirts. And we saw them on the Boston College Twitter page with the class of 2028, that they're back. The class of the classic Superfan shirts are back. If you had them like I did when I was at BC, those are what you used to wear to every football game. And I love that. One thing I hate about BC fandom, and it's not BC's fans' fault, it's the apparel fault. You go to a Georgia football game, it's black, red, and white. That's the colors you wear. You go to a Boston College football game, it's like a rainbow of colors. There's no consistency anywhere. Everyone's wearing all sorts of things. The Superfan shirts for years was that consistency. And then they went away. And I've heard the buzz that it was because of campus police and they were using the slogans on the back of the shirts to help identify. I don't know if that's an urban legend. I don't know. But what I do know, it kind of justifies that maybe that was the case, is that the new Superfan shirts don't have a logo on the back, a slogan on the back. So it's just plain Superfan shirts. The color is a little off. I honestly don't care. I just want if you're looking at Alumni Stadium, it should be a specific color. And BC has already called for a gold out at the Duquesne game. They did a lot of these color outs for hockey games last year, and it was a big success. Football's a bigger, it has a lot more people there, a lot less BC fans, so people just show up for that kind of stuff. But it would be a really cool first step for Bill O'Brien in this program to have some things that pop on TV. And it's Duquesne, so no one's going to be watching it. But having that gold there will be cool. I'm just glad they're back. I miss wearing my Superfan shirt. I have it, but guys, I write about BC now, so I can't just walk around with my Superfan shirt at games. I do wear it for pajamas sometimes too, though. You know what I mean? But it's cool that they're bringing it back for the students because I feel like it was a tradition for Boston College football and BC itself. Like your freshman year, you get that shirt. It's a big deal. Now it comes back and the students can feel that again. It's a tradition and I hope it continues. I hope it's not something that they do for 1 year and decide not to do again. It's something that BC's always done and I'm glad to see it back. We'll be back again tomorrow. I believe the depth chart is going to be released on Tuesday. I'll have my full reactions to that and everything else we'll talk about here at Locked On Boston College. Follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. Get over to Eagle Insider. Check out my work there and become an Eagles Nester here for Locked On BC. It's our insider program here. You guys who are part of it, you talk to me all the time. I give out news, info. I was talking about Joe Marinaro earlier to some people. Love this kind of stuff. I hope you join it. Even if I run out of promo codes, it's literally a price a cup of coffee. For a guy, I've been giving you news for years. I hope you guys want to support it. Join up. The link's in the notes. Hope to see you over there. Thank you all. We'll see you again for another episode of tomorrow for Locked On Boston College. Your team every day.